One story is over, but another story is just beginning. So let's talk about it. Hey Charles, it's everyone, how are you today? Ash Ketchum may have won the World Coronation Series, but Pokemon Journeys isn't over until the Ferret Lady sings. And there is some exciting stuff left in the tank. Because although November 18th is a break week in which Pokemon Coco or Pokemon Secrets of the Jungle will air in place of a new anime episode, not to mention the release date of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we thereafter have at the very least 3 episodes remaining that will carry us through to December 9th, and each of them is a nexus for interesting discussion. From the quest to catch Mew to the potential setup for a voyage to Paldea to a heartfelt goodbye, the episodes are on the table, and today's plan is to discuss the 3-episode plus World Coronation Series post-game, as well as a clue as to what is next for Ash Ketchum. So kindly subscribe to edge us closer to the big 100, and let's bust out the juicy nuggets. Right after a quick flex from Lord Bob. Because today's video is sponsored by Established Titles, a project based on a historic Scottish custom by which landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies in English, and given Bob's numerous contributions to the channel since back before we even had 100 subscribers, I saw it fit to honor him with a glow up and a certificate befitting of his stateliness. Established Titles is a fun and novel way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping global reforestation efforts. And their title packs give you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land with a unique plot number on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, plus an official certificate with a crest. If you want to flex like Lord Bob, you could even officially include the title Lord or Lady on your credit cards, plane tickets, or, dare I say, dating profiles, etc, etc. And of course, Established Titles plants a tree with every order, working with global charities like One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future to support global reforestation efforts. I like trees, Bob likes trees, it is a good cause. The first 200 people purchasing a title pack using my link will effectively be next to my plot, within a few minutes walking distance, so depending on how many of you want to become a lord or lady, we can build our own little Scottish charusharu kingdom. A fun novelty plus saving trees, it makes for an amazing last minute gift. And Established Titles is actually running a massive Black Friday sale right now, not to mention that if you use the code charusharu, you will get an additional 10% off of your order. So go to establishedtitles.com/charusharu to get your gifts now and support the channel, and of course, to support the Cape game. And with that said, on to the meat and potatoes of today's chat. Picking up where Ash's World Coronation Series victory left off in episode 132, we have episode 133, Project Mew. An episode focused on Ash's co-star Go and the climax of his mission to track down Mew as a Project Mew chaser. Go's absence during Ash's final big battle against Leon struck a note of discord in the community, so at the very least it will be good to see him back to wrap up the dandy Project Mew subplot, not to mention that it's going to be interesting to see if Go achieves his goal. And as the episode blurb reads, during Ash's Masters 8 final, the search for Mew has brought Go to Faraway Island. However, when Go, Gary, Horace, Quillen, and Danica reach the island, they lose contact with Professor Amaranth at the lab, and their Pokeballs cease to function. What will happen to Go and company as they continue their search for Mew in the face of these difficulties? Firstly, I think it is really cool that the episode is unfolding on Faraway Island, a game location that could only be traveled to by sea back in Pokemon Emerald, with the use of an event-exclusive item known as the Old Sea Map that was only briefly distributed way back in summer of 2005. Faraway Island is the only place where Mew roams wild in any of the core games, so as unknown as the location may be to young viewers, it is the perfect setting for the Project Mew climax. And it would be pretty cool to see them hunker down on the references even further by having the party make their way to the island using the Old Sea Map, seeing the faded signage presumably left by Mr. Fuji, ultimately encountering Mew hidden in the long grass, etc, etc. But we'll just have to wait and see how far they take it. I also wanted to note that the human cast for this episode is rock solid, with Magic Hands Go accompanied by the classic badman Gary Oak, the kind and supportive Horace, and the powerful Urshifu-wielding chasers Quillen and Danica. 2 characters I wish we had seen a whole lot more of in Pokemon Journeys. As for the specific details of the episode, much remains shrouded in detail, but the Journeys episode 133 preview trailer shows the party in trouble as they are attacked by various Pokemon who seem keen on preventing them from achieving their objective. impressive. Also, the fact that the group's Pokeballs are jammed brings back memories of the jamming signal that prevented the use of empty Pokeballs in the Sun and Moon game's Aether Paradise. So this may be how Mew is ultimately rendered uncatchable. Then again, Go might just put those pipes to use and subdue it by hand. And to enter the realm of speculation, there are many who believe that Professor Amaranth may in fact turn out to be an evil Lawrence III type character looking to capture Mew for his own nefarious purposes. I mean, he looks sketchy enough for the part. So that would be quite the spectacular twist, and assuming that the speculated betrayal actually does take place, I wonder if Go's missing Suicune would reappear to return the savior butt favor that Go did it way back in episode 53, because if not, what was even the purpose of having him catch that thing? The other puzzle piece is Regigigas, whose appearance was the last major event in the Project Mew arc, and I do wonder how they will bring that big boy back into the mix. But regardless of the specifics, Go's adventure does not end here, which brings us to the subsequent episode's title. Next up, we have Pokemon Journey's episode 134, Seize the Future, a title clearly referencing Go's signature phrase, "The future is in my hands." This tells us that just as Go believes his future is in his own hands, that his future is a future of his own making, the notion of seizing the future suggests that Go is going to proactively exert control over some event in this episode. One likely scenario is that Go is presented with a big decision to make regarding the outcome of the mission, for instance, to catch Mew or to let it go because that is simply the right thing to do. And to paint a picture of what could possibly happen, if Professor Amaranth turns out to be a bad guy as many suspect, then perhaps Go will make the call to protect Mew from capture, effectively sacrificing his own goal in order to seize a better future for Mew, himself, and countless others. Or perhaps the title could simply refer to Go reaffirming his path in life as a Pokemon collector, or settling on his next immediate goal following his confrontation with Mew. Either way, as one episode blurb puts it, separated into two parties due to unforeseen difficulties, the chasers are in trouble, meaning that we are in for a tense and exciting episode. And while I would personally love to see a Project Mew 4-parter similar to what we saw with the heated conclusion to Ash's story, the title of the following episode suggests finality, so at a glance it looks like we may only get 2 or 2.5 Project Mew episodes before the conclusion of Pokemon Journeys. But let's turn to episode 135 to expand on that discussion. Last from the batch of announced episode titles, we have Pokemon Journeys episode 135, Pokemon I'm Glad I Could Meet You, which appears to draw its inspiration from the very first episode title of the original series, Pokemon I Choose You. The gravity of such a connection immediately set alarm bells ringing across the fandom, with many people worried that this episode could be the conclusive bookend to the anime in its entirety, to which I can only say, not a chance. Firstly, because the Pokemon franchise isn't going to simply abandon one of its key marketing arms for absolutely no reason, and secondly because the Pokemon anime is no stranger to baiting fans with powerful titles that pull in the views and make headlines. I mean, the Japanese title of the final episode of the original series was even Parting with Pikachu, a title that was obviously misleading. That said, even if the anime is still running when we are all 6 feet under, many are worried that the episode title could still be pointing to Pikachu and Ash retiring as the main characters of the show. But the much more likely scenarios are that 1. Ash and Go will be bidding each other farewell as Ash and Pikachu depart to Paldea, or 2, that the episode is actually speaking to Go's meeting with Mew, either in the present when he meets Mew on Faraway Island, or back at the summer camp in his childhood, when his initial encounter with Mew gave him a purpose in life. In the second scenario, this would probably not be the final episode of the series, and there could even be a yet-to-be-announced 4th part to the Project Mew arc, similar to how the 4th segment of the Ash vs. Leon arc remained under wraps for quite some time, leading people to believe that the Masters 8 finale would only be a 3-parter. Furthermore, final episodes of a series are typically marked as such in Japanese TV guides, but not so for Pokemon Journeys episode 135, so there is a good chance that the series may continue on past December 9th. After all, while the Corsola Measles debacle and the numerous broadcasting breaks were certainly a factor in this, we are still several episodes shy of the just over 140 episodes episode count that's been typical since the Black and White era. An interesting fact to contemplate given that Pokemon Journeys has already been on air longer than its 3 predecessors, and we are coming up especially short if you don't include the 3 recap episodes that came out in 2022. It would be nice to see Pokemon Journeys come closer to filling out the pants of its predecessors, but whether the series is granted more episodes or not, another big question in people's minds is how Ash Ketchum fits into all of this. At the end of Pokemon Journeys episode 132, there is a post-battle scene of Ash taking a call from Go. And during this segment, there are two elements in the shot that may be teasing Ash's next adventure. The first is the crowned Pikachu on his t-shirt, which could just be a World Championship celebration shirt, but could also be a nod to the terrestrial phenomenon of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Furthermore, the shot of Ash talking on the phone focuses on the painting hanging above his bedside so blatantly that it's impossible to ignore. The smart minds who contribute to the Bulbapedia page have deduced that the painting bears a striking resemblance to famous painter Ivan Ivazovsky's A Sailing Ship on a High Sea by Moonlight, pointing out that Ivazovsky's most famous work is a painting titled The Ninth Wave, which means that the painting in Pokemon Journeys episode 132 could be a reference to the ninth wave of Pokemon, aka Generation 9 Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Others yet have suggested that the painting on the wall could be alluding to the 3 Spanish ships that sailed to the United States way back when, and also that the glimmering orb in the sky could be Generation 9's third legendary Pokemon. If any of these assumptions are correct, then the coexistence of Ash Ketchum, the crowned Pikachu t-shirt, and the painting referencing Generation 9 in the same shot suggests that Ash likely will be continuing his role as series protagonist and journeying on to Paldea for a new adventure in the next anime series. Of course, the orb could simply be a representation of Mew, and the setting of the painting a reference to Faraway Island, given that the subsequent stretch of the anime is focused on Go and his Project Mew exploits. But how about you? What does the painting represent? Is Ash going to continue on as the show's hero? Will Pokemon Journeys continue past December 9th? And what can we expect from the climax of Project Mew? I'm curious what you think, and as always, let's chat. At roughly 10:30 p.m. on November 17th, after braving the late hours, the cold, and the scent of stale sweat, I walked out of a nearby game store's launch party with my copy of Pokemon Scarlet at long last. Then went home to play it with my 3D waifu and 4D brother, and after about 10 hours of playtime, I can tell you that yes, the game suffers from comical framerate issues unlike anything that I've ever seen on the Nintendo Switch, but that even so, this is easily the most fun I've had with a main series Pokemon game in quite a few years, because the open world is simply such a blast to explore thanks to the solid core gameplay loop and all the encounters with cute and cool Pokemon, new and old, who roam the countryside. So we'll save the big chats for another day, but basically the game is a blast in spite of the technical issues, and even my brother, who hasn't played a Pokemon game since Gen 3, wants to pick up Pokemon Violet after playing Pokemon Sada with us over the past day, which is great because I want that derpy Domphon. But how about you? Have you played Pokemon Scarlet or Violet? And if so, what do you think so far?